Some of you are wondering why your body might be plateauing a little bit, while you're not getting the same shift in your physique, or why your body's not changing as fast as what you would like it to. And you might be getting your step count, you might be eating within your calories, but if you are not giving your body a reason to change because it doesn't have enough stress applied to it, it won't change. I want you to all remember this phrase. You need to give your body a reason to change. Yeah, your body doesn't change just because you're performing the sets and the reps. Your body doesn't change just because you're increasing load. Your body changes when you use training to instigate highly stimulating repetitions. Those are the repetitions that are worth the most. So let's say you've got a set of 10. The first 8 repetitions, they're not highly stressful, but the last 2, at least 2 to maybe even 3 repetitions, those should be really, really effing challenging for you to perform. And I don't mean the final 3 repetitions by the final set. Yeah, it's not as if we're training and we're saving ourselves for the last set. No, that's not what we want to say to ourselves. What we want to say to ourselves when we train, there needs to be at least 2 repetitions that are ugly and so hard for you to perform. Those are the repetitions that give your body a reason to change. We don't want to become passive when we train. Yeah, what I mean by that is we don't want to just get the numbers. What the spreadsheet does tell me that you are improving is your lifting volume. To calculate volume, you go reps multiplied by load multiplied by sets performed. So that volume should be increasing every week. What volume doesn't tell me is whether or not the reps you're performing are stimulating enough for your body to change. It's how hard you are willing to push in your own training, but it's also in realizing I have not explained how your rep range needs to work on a week-to-week basis. So what we can see in this person's B-Stance RDLs, their lifting load went from 10 to 15 to 17.5, and the rep range was anything between 8 to 10 reps. So this person is hitting the top rep range in every set. I can tell you from looking at this, set 1 and set 2 were not stimulating sets. And the reason why I know that is by the 3rd set, if you are performing a new PB, the first set was like a warm-up. The second set was like a warm-up. So if you get to that second set and you're already saying to yourself, I'm going to be able to go up in my 3rd set, that's what tells me the first 2 sets weren't stimulating enough. If this person performed just 8 repetitions or even, less than 8 repetitions, 8 being the lowest rep range, then we would know that 17.5 is enough. But because they're still repping out the highest rep range, it tells me these first 2 sets were more like warm-up loads. So don't waste a set. Yeah, a number of you who train with me face-to-face have heard me say that to you before. Don't waste a set. This is what I mean by you don't want to just be passive in training. If you go and lift and you are not forcing your body to have a reason to change, it won't change. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're training 5 days a week. If your sets look like this, you're not giving your body a reason to change. Ladies, when you are doing your top sets, you should, in those last 2 repetitions, should have so much controlled aggression that people are like, oh, whoa, I am not going to ask that person how she's going in training, like that resting bitch face kind of thing. Those final repetitions, there should be absolutely ugly faces. You should be feeling like, wow, I've never lifted this heavy before. And oh my gosh, my body is shaking getting this set completed. And you're starting to make noises that even you have never heard come out of you before. Those are the repetitions that change your body, not the first 8 that you're doing to accumulate fatigue to get to the final 1 to 2 reps. And this is also why, as you're getting closer to the end of your set, those last couple of repetitions, it should be that you have to suddenly flick a switch and be so laser focused on what you're doing because they are so demanding. They are so demanding, those final repetitions. And this is also why you need to use your rest. Yeah, you need to use your rest time. I notice with particularly Bulgarian split squats, if you perform all your repetitions on your highest load on the first leg and you go straight into the second leg, or you can 10 seconds off and you go straight into the second leg, you're not lifting heavy enough to give your body reason to change. Your body will change when it is pushed and it's stretched beyond its current abilities. So this was absolutely a warm-up set. They got to their top rep range. They went for a higher load, still top rep range, went for the highest load, performed, still hit top rep range. If you're always hitting the highest rep range, you need to add more load sooner. I'd actually rather you add more load and only have enough in the tank to hit the lowest rep range. This is another thing that I notice on lifting spreadsheets. This is what they performed in week 1. Yeah, this is their volume. And yes, absolutely, they've improved on week 2, 500 as their lifting volume. However, if in the previous week you achieved a load and you achieved the highest rep range, do not make this your load for your first set the following week because you've already achieved it. It's not to say that I don't want you to achieve that combination again, 15 kilos for 10 reps, but because this person lift even heavier in their third set, and really your third set should be the one where you're suffering the most, not the one where you're like, oh wow, I'm lifting my heaviest here. You should nearly, in theory, be lifting your heaviest load in the first or the second set and nearly need to go down in the third set, not the opposite. Because if you are hitting the rep range in your first and second set and they're highly stimulating reps and you are taking your rest time, you might notice, oh, like my technique's 65, 70% there. I'm definitely going to go down in my last set to make sure that I still have quality technique. I don't want quality technique to be at the cost of not doing stimulating reps. That is so important for you to know. I want ugly reps. I want ugly faces. I want ugly sounds. I want ugly noises. And that's what I use your lifting videos for. I don't just use lifting videos for technique. I use your lifting videos because I want to see how hard you're working in the gym. You have to train with so much intensity that walking out of the gym and you're like, oh my God, I've never worked that hard in my life. And then you rock up tomorrow and you do it again and you get to say the same thing to yourself again. Oh my God, I've never worked that hard in my life. Your body will not change just because you're lifting within the rep range and you're lifting more load. This person achieved 17.5, a highest load by the third set, but these two sets here were a bit of a waste, really. Like these were not stimulating enough. Sure, you might be the heaviest load you lifted, but this person's reps should look more like this. Maybe they couldn't even do 8. I would rather see that. I would rather see the proof that the load is so effing heavy and so stimulating that you nearly can't even get the minimum rep range. But if you're getting the top rep range by the third set with a new load, these first sets did not count. They were like what you would do for warm-up sets. Now, let's go across to week 2. So this person has started with a load they already knew they could do. This should be their warm-up sets. While their lifting volume has increased, set 2 and 3, they're still lifting the max reps. These entries tell me this person's level of exertion is not strong enough for their body to have a reason to change. If you're hitting your top rep range, it has to go up in load. You need to test yourself. This person hasn't tested themselves in week 1. They haven't tested themselves in week 2. And this is really important for me to highlight because some of you are wondering why your body might be plateauing a little bit, while you're not getting the same shift in your physique, or why your body's not changing as fast as what you would like it to. And you might be getting your step count. You might be eating within your calories. But if you are not giving your body a reason to change because it doesn't have enough stress applied to it, it won't change. If I ever take you through a fat loss phase, you will discover that training intensity does not change. You have less calories coming in and you need to try and still push for the PBs, which is personal best, or very close to. You are not going to suddenly start wanting to push for heavier repetitions when you have less food. We have to do that work now. Learning how to lift heavy enough and work hard enough is a skill set, and it comes from repeated exposure. When you do those repetitions where things are shaking and you're really stretching yourself, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the repetitions becoming slow. If I don't see your repetitions slowing down by the final 2 to 3 reps, you're not lifting heavy enough. Let me show you how to utilize the low end of the spectrum versus the high end of the spectrum in your reps. Okay, so the rep range is between 8 and 10. They performed 15 kilos. They hit the top rep range. I remember what my coach told me. That means I can go up. So I'll go 12.5. I still haven't hit the lowest rep range. So that means I can go up in load again. And I want to see what I get to on 15. I just made it. So this right here is an indication that you are producing enough stimulus. Video evidence would still beat numbers, because you might be lifting and going, oh, well, I'm just going to say that, I did less reps in my final set because I don't want to work that hard. And that's okay, but your results are up to you, yeah? Your results are going to be off the back of how hard you're willing to work. The body you want is on the other side of the reps you're willing to do. So when I train, I love those repetitions. I use fuck you energy. Use that to your advantage, because if you don't use it to your advantage, all it does is get on top of you. If anger and frustration gets on top of you, it pushes you down and it wears you out and you're exhausted by it. But if you flip it and you use it in your training, that's when you're going to build out those ugly reps with ugly faces, ugly noises. I am going to be so proud of you. And eventually that'll be the level that you're used to working at. And so when you go to do a fat loss phase, you're not needing to suddenly work harder and harder and harder. You're used to working hard. That's what I mean by learning how to work hard enough is a skill set, and it comes from repeated exposure over time. So coming back to this example, like I said, the video would still prove more evidence than the numbers themselves, but this is what it would look like if this person was working to their true capabilities, stretching themselves and producing repetitions that give their body a reason to change. Because while their load, what have I got here? 15, 10, that should be 17.5. Sorry, my mistake, ladies. 17.5, and this should be 20. I'm not going to lie. I am on pretty strong medication right now. Let's blame the medication. Sorry, my apologies. I hope you're not all thinking you do not have a legitimate argument here. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's what it was supposed to say. Okay, so this is where I need to see variety. If I go back to this example here, these sets are very vanilla. This person's not giving their body a reason to change, because the reps they're producing and they're increasing in load and still hitting the highest rep range. If you are hitting the highest rep range on your final set, use that or more in the following week. So you might even put a comment in here, next week start higher load, because you have performed 17.5 for 10 reps. If it were me in training, I would not count those first sets. Yeah, I don't count sets unless I know that the load I'm lifting is the heaviest load I can lift for the rep range. So this person's intensity, it's just not there. This purple example over here, this is what I would do in the week after. Because I lift 20 kilos for 8 repetitions. And remember, my rep range was 8 to 10. The following week, I go through my warm-up sets, but I don't waste a whole sets on warm-up sets. And I'd say I start with 20 and I go, oh, I got 9 repetitions. So now my goal is to stay on 20 and see if I can really push 20 kilos to have stimulating repetitions for the higher rep range. Yeah, we need undulation in your sets. Or I might go for 22.5 and I could only do 7. Okay, well, my next set, I'm going to pull back to 20, so I get 8. That is someone who's training hard enough. I would rather you not quite get the lowest rep range than get the highest rep range every single time and the third set be the highest load at the highest rep range. That is not what we want. So the following week, again, what I would do is I go, okay, I could see that 22.5 was a bit too much. I didn't quite get there, but your body should adapt. If you're eating enough food to recover, if you're getting enough water, if you're getting enough sleep, that's why we work on those things. We work on those things so that when you come to train, you've got a big budget to spend. How big your budget is depends on whether or not you're looking after yourself. Today's food is tomorrow's energy. This is why when I was looking at everyone's program, part of the reason why they're maybe not pushing themselves enough is because I haven't actually explained how to use your rep ranges. So you can see in these two examples here, I've hit my top rep range once, 8 to 10. My other sets are actually lower reps. And so what I would do in the following week is I would look at the fact that 22.5 was a little bit too heavy. I'm going to see if I can hit 22.5 for the first set, because maybe I was just too fatigued to be able to hit a new load. So I would actually start with 22.5 in my first one. If I get the minimum, I stay there. If I don't quite get the minimum, then I give myself permission to drop back, and then I have achieved within the rep range. Does that make sense? So see how there's a lot more variety in these entries. That is what I need to see in y'all's training. Not just the numbers though, videos as well. So the accumulation of habits and behaviors that we utilize now when we're not in a fat loss phase, you're forming your baseline right now. Yeah. We don't want to start to learn to work hard in the gym, learn how to macro count, learn how to get our step count when we're in a fat loss phase. It's not to say that if you're still in the learning phase that you're not going to lose body fat, but when you're in a fat loss phase, you're intentionally under eating, because that's what a fat loss phase is. That's a level of stress that we have to be ready for. So we have to learn how to lift heavy and with intensity when we're not in a fat loss phase, so that when we get to a fat loss phase, it's just how we train. When I train, I chase those repetitions. I want to get to the repetitions that are so hard to perform. What I tell myself is that phrase I used before: the body I want is on the other side of the reps that I'm willing to perform. So you can be going up in load, improving lifting volume, but if your repetitions do not produce strong enough stimulus and those final repetitions are not hard for you to perform, you are not giving your body enough stimulus to change. You need to force it to change. That's the beauty about training. You have got that available to you. My goal is to continue to have a physique where people are like, she fucking lives. She lives a lot. And it's a status symbol that doesn't just align with, oh wow, she works hard. She's also obviously really good at her nutrition and her lifestyle, because that's what your physique tells other people. So hope this helps. Please ask me any questions. Please send me lifting videos. Ladies, pepper me. I want to be peppered with lifting videos, because your lifting videos show the intensity, but so does the variety that you have in your data entry. If I don't see variety, if I see vanilla entries, I know things aren't happening the way we want them to. And you should finish every session going, I've never worked that hard in my life. And then you rock up tomorrow and you do it again. Oh my God, I've never worked that hard in my life. And then you rock up again and you do it tomorrow. Oh my God, I've never worked that hard in my life. And that's how you accumulate the character trait of someone who is wanting to change, because they're forcing their body into change. Hope this helps. Please get on our group chat and share your grindy reps. Whenever you're like, oh wow, you should see how grindy these reps were, post it on the group chat. We will all celebrate it. I'll leave it at that. Let me know if you've got any questions.